Okay, welcome everybody to the live stream of the CO visit. As you saw in the thumbnail, the We Are Effed live stream, and welcome to the CO visit. Colin here and my trusty coffee, and as you can see, Jeff is here from Nuevo Mexico. How are you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing all right. I have my agua fresca.
All right. Cool. So it looks like we got in the chat. Jay is here. Hey, Jay, welcome. Thank you for being here. Titus 213 says hi. Welcome, welcome. Este, hello. Always loyal, Este. So welcome and thank you, everyone. Oscar Rivera, ¿cómo estás? Mucho gusto. Welcome, Oscar. Cassandra, hello. Welcome for being here. 12 people already. Wow, 17. Wow. This is unbelievable. Thank you, everybody, for being here. It's been a while since we've had a live stream, but I think it's better just to space them out every once in a while. That way we, don't get tired of it. And so I've got Jose Duclos from Canada. Hello, Canada is representing. Christopher Alvarado Sr. from Washington State. Wow. Thank you, everybody, for being here and for watching. So just going to talk about a few things today, and you guys can have at it in the comment section there. Talk amongst yourselves and anything you want to mention for us to mention also during the stream. We will and Washington State as well. Wow, yeah. So we got a couple of people from Washington State. Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And well, we are as we were just talking in the pre-show, Jeff. We're living in interesting times. Seems like now 2025 just hit the gate, running right out of the gate, just nonstop every single day. And I think when you live in, like you were saying, in your neck of the woods, it's a little bit more isolated. It's kind of laid back somewhat. Pretty much the same where I am, because I'm out of all of that bubble pretty much. But when you're looking at all this stuff going on kind of from the outside, it just seems even more insane, because it's literally every day you don't know what's going to pop up in your news or on your feeds. I mean, it's just one thing after another. Planes coming down, and now with the new presidency that's with Trump that's in effect now, and don't worry, guys, anybody in the comment section, we're not going to get into politics. I'm not going to be bashing anybody. I'm just mentioning it, but I mean, nobody can deny it's been just nonstop, really action since this year started. Things just happening all over the place, one thing after another. It's scary, really. So how have you been in general, Jeff? What's new in your world?
I've been good. I've been laying low. Work has been very slow, which is kind of nice, but it's getting to the point where it's a little nervous. But all things considered, I've been good. I put a bed together, which was an adventure. I had an IKEA adventure. Yeah.
Oh, the notorious.
Oh my goodness.
IKEA furniture.
Well, I set it up where I couldn't get to sleep until the bed was put together, and I thought because I had no space. I had no space for a bed and a mattress, so I cleared the space out to put the bed together. For work, I usually wake up around 4 a.m. So I thought I was going to be done by 8. I didn't get finished until like close to 11, and ended up being a very long day.
Oh, I can imagine.
But yeah, that was my adventure.
Yeah, that's a good motivator, though. I mean, it's like, okay, I'm not going to be able to sleep until I put this thing together, right?
Yeah.
So got to get it done. Yeah, you got to have basically like a engineering degree to put that stuff together from IKEA. It's like a blueprint.
And I got to the end, and there was one bolt that wouldn't thread, so I got to get a replacement. But it didn't fall apart, so it's fine.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's always got to be one.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, if we were down here, we just You either find a bigger one and thread it forcefully, or get some wire, wind it up, and you're good to go. As long as it holds it together. So, yeah. Well, we'll get back to in a second here. So we should probably talk about our main topic, because I have a feeling the people in the comment section will get a little bit restless. But we always want to just shoot the breeze. It's good to talk about current events, because I know everybody is observing and also talking about all the stuff going on. And of course, if you're looking at this from the perspective of Watchtower world, of course, they love this stuff. This right now, this is, for them, this is just the best thing in the world, because all this stuff going on in the world, airplanes coming down, drones, this and that, and the president doing this and that and signing stuff. And okay, so show enough, Soul Bro One, hola, ¿cómo estás? Bienvenido, bienvenida. And so this is the kind of stuff that they use to basically fan the flames and get people worked up again, and see the end is close and all, and people come running back and all this stuff. So of course, I think we do have to look at the aspect that in recent years, unlike any other time in human history, we are aware of everything that's happening all the time. Like, it's not like almost on a daily basis, nearly on a daily basis, not always, but there are air traffic incidences. This happens all the time, whether it be near misses, but now everybody and their mother has cameras, cell phones. There's cameras everywhere on every street corner. And we get this bombardment of media all the time, every single little thing that happens. So it seems like, oh, it's happening one after another. And well, is it, or are we just aware of things more? I mean, you have to kind of look at the big picture, and of course, like I said, for Watchtower, this is great, because any conflict going on or these things going on, they're going to capitalize on it. But what I kind of wanted to get into today was about something that I foresee coming up. And Butterfly Queen, hello, welcome. Thank you for being here. Okay, everybody that's here with us, thank you. That I foresee that one of Watchtower's doctrines is now in jeopardy. It's in danger. The expiration date is coming up very quick, and I can't say when this might happen, but I foresee this sometime in the near future. Either they're going to have to clarify something about it, or they're going to have to modify it in some way, or we're going to get some more new light, and they might just have to. I don't think they're going to scrap it altogether, but I think they're going to come up with some kind of explanation or extension or something. And maybe that's already been in the works, with elders now being able to join the ranks at 20 or 21 years old, and ministerial servants at 18, and all this. But if you're wondering, okay, what it's about, it's the generation doctrine. So we know that the 1914 generation doctrine, which was central to basically the organization since the beginning, since Russell, that basically ran its course. It expired. All of those people died off by the early 2000s, by 2000, right around there. And then in a couple of years after, they had to come up with the overlapping generation, because all of those people from 1914 that were not all of them anyway, were not supposed to die until some of them witnessed the beginning of the tribulation, and then they'd be raptured or whatever. And that didn't happen. So not only did they die, but there was no tribulation, and there is no end. None of that happened. So welcome in, as Estea says exactly. Overlapping generation is expiring, 15 years old, right? It's if we look at, so what was the base of 1914? Well, they said that people that were alive in 1914, not born, okay? Remember that, not born in 1914. They already had to be alive and like maybe 15 years old. So because they had to recognize the difference before 1914 and then after, right? They had to see the difference between, the war started and then everything changed. The peace was taken away and all of that. So they came up with this number like 14, 15 years old. So by the time you get to, let's say, like the late 90s or the year 2000, plus you add 15 years onto that, those people were already pushing 100 at that time. That was 25 years ago, guys, right? That was 25 years ago. So the people that supposedly their lives overlapped with those people, and again, not young children, not people who were just born, people that at that time would have been able to interact with people that were alive from 1914. That means you had to be at least a young adult back in the 80s, 90s, right? At that time to have been able to have some sort of interaction in the organization with people from 1914, and then they died off and you continued living on, right? Those are the guys, those are the people, anointed ones, that are, for example, part of the governing body right now, right? This is the Flagels and the Leshes and the Let and Hurd, and these guys are, some of them pushing 70, some of them more years old. Those guys are already getting old, right? So, okay, Este, she's confused now. Yeah, well, hey, the whole 19, this whole overlapping generation thing, But anyway, if you kind of analyze that part, like people that were still alive, like the guys in the governing body now, that they were old enough to have interacted with people from the 1914 generation in the organization, that were adults. Those people now are elderly. They're getting old. They're dying off as well. And so the problem is they kind of they shot themselves in the foot, because when they introduced this new teaching of the overlapping generation, they didn't give any timeline for that, right? It's like, we came up, they were only thinking about, we need to kind of, cover over the fact that these people from 1914 are dying off. So they came up with the overlapping generation, but okay, how long is that supposed to go on? So when does the end come? When does the tribulation start? They didn't think about that. And now all of those people are getting up there in age, are dying off. So what happens now? So it's kind of, they kind of painted themselves in a corner on that. So I would imagine that in, maybe this year, maybe in the next year or so, or next few years, there's going to have to be a major update / clarification / maybe just new light and throw it out of the whole generation thing. Because the only way I see this working is that basically they're just going to have to continue on the path of just becoming more and more like mainstream Christianity, and just be like, well, the end comes whenever it comes. We don't know. That's not an issue anymore. Or you just go to heaven. I mean, because if you keep trying to predict things, it's going to keep running out. It's happened how many times now? So it's a complicated thing. What's your viewpoint, Jeff?
So I think what they decide to do next, they should try to announce it as quietly as possible. That would probably be the smart thing. And the reason I say that, if you let enough time go by, people forget about things. How many kids nowadays, or 20-somethings in the organization, remember like 3-day conventions with meals served? Just little things like that. So, if they want to put something quiet in the watchtower, that might be the best way to try to get by without shaking too many feathers. Beyond that, I don't know. Because to me, like growing up, the when we thought of governing body, they were scholarly. At least that's what they look like. The guys we see on TV now, they're all company men. Like, You can look
Right.
at them and listen to them, and it's like the only thing they really learn is how to give talks the exact same way. So do you really think that they have the capacity to look farsighted, even short-sighted, and try to come up with something that's going to keep people believing or pushing forward without having serious questions? But I have no
Yeah.
idea.
It's hard to say. I think as well. I agree that they'll probably. I think they've seen that their best strategy is just to kind of let things fade away. Just don't talk about it anymore, and people just kind of forget about it. Right? Nobody made really. I mean, it happened to some people here and there that were really tuned into things, but like the fact that the generation of 1914 died off and nothing happened, nobody really noticed. It just kind of it went by the wayside, and next thing you know, the overlapping generation was there, and it just happened, and life went on. So I think they'll probably do that. They'll do radio silence, and they'll keep kind of they'll put information out there to keep people distracted. Oh, look at Ramapo, and what's going on out there, and and all this stuff, and people in Eritrea in jail, and they keep people sensationalized with all these different things going on. But yeah, you're absolutely right about if you look at, I think it's very telling about the governing body selections now, that more and more, I think we're going to see this continue to happen. They're going to be more oriented towards real estate, like the two new ones that they just named. They're going to be more about continuing on the company aspect of it and kind of handling that part of it, like the business side of it. And it's really less about doctrine, and you don't hear them much anymore. All the stuff that they used to debate about in the books that they came out with, about, like we were talking about with the destruction of Jerusalem and this and that. They don't talk about those things much anymore. You don't hear much about that. You don't hear much about Gog of Magog and all that. It comes up once in a while, but then it goes away. It just kind of goes with the times, what's happening. So,
and two, I think so. Like the older ones, our age and older, there was something about having those prophecies that held us in, and especially like people my parents' age, that those prophecies would just keep you in. I don't sense that so much with the younger kids.
No,
like the younger ones don't really care about that. There might be other things in the organization or being a witness that they might care about, but just the idea of holding on to all these prophecies, maybe on a surface level it matters to them, but everything else is just kind of, it's either tradition or just how they feel. So if they're smart, they can play into that too.
Absolutely. Yeah. It just, it doesn't, that whole sense of all those different prophecies and all of those books are discontinued now. Everything that was so urgent at the time when we were in the organization, we had the books about Ezekiel and the Daniel book and all those. That's all old light now. All that's discontinued. So none of that has really any relevance today as of 2025. So yeah, definitely you don't see. I mean, like we've talked about before, there are generations right now as we speak that haven't experienced the field service as it was before, the ministry school, any of those things. They're not counting time anymore. They're not. It just, there's so many things. They're not going to experience the joys of maybe going to the Kingdom Hall with a sweater on instead of a suit coat, and getting pulled aside because of that.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. You don't have to wear a tie anymore. I mean, my God, that's it's just there's so many little things about the culture that have all of a sudden shifted, and they're not going to experience those things anymore as we did. So yeah, it's a whole different feel to the. I call it like it's like JW light now. It's just everything has been changed so much. So So Gwen, hello, and all. You're not late. We started just not too long ago. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, the Isaiah books, like Jay says, the Isaiah books, the Daniel books. Yeah, all those were, man. That stuff was some heavy stuff. That was some heavy reading and getting into all that stuff. And then when we had to restudy the Revelation book, and then it had, I don't know if you remember in the Kingdom Ministry.
In the KM.
Yeah, it had all the updated as we were reading it, like, oh, don't, what was in that paragraph. I mean, it's like, what you're looking at, like, this is insane, right? Like, oh, that's not true anymore. This is what you need to, these are all the updates. That was crazy. Yeah. So this is another one that, like, Jose Duclos is saying, I wasn't supposed to grow old. Yeah, that's a lot of, I mean, I think since way back, that was, especially if you came into the organization anytime from the 70s forward, the feeling was really like, don't invest in this system. Don't invest in this life. We're not going to be here that long. That's what I grew up with. I heard that all the time. We're not going to be here. We're not. I mean, some of the people when I was growing up that were already elderly and stuff like that, they knew like their time was getting short. But for us, I was, a young kid or teenager, and it was like, oh, you guys are, you're just growing up right now. It's the last days. Just pioneer, and concentrate on the kingdom, and you're not even, don't worry about college, all that stuff. You guys are, you're going to be the one seeing the end and everything. There's no. It was like, I always remember the illustration. Someone would be like, oh, would you put in a job application on the Titanic? And it's like, it's going to sink. And, oh, no. Yeah. And here we are, and it's like, like you and I, Jeff, we're in our mid 40s now. And here we are. And who of us, our mindset at that time would have thought that we'd still be here and be staring down the barrel at this age now. That happened to a lot of people. And imagine some of the people after 75 who sold everything, went to live in a trailer, and, oh, we're going to sit here and camp out and watch the end happen. Well, how'd that go for you? Here we are 40 some years later, and, it's just crazy. So yeah. Yeah. Like, Titus is saying here, I vividly remember telling my dad I wanted to go to college, and he was like, why? Yeah, that's what all of us got that. Yeah, like, what are you going to do that for? Why would you do that? It's just crazy. So Gwen says hi from Rhode Island, another East Coaster. Okay. Welcome. Great. Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate that. Let's see what Poppy says here. Poppy! My mother said at Yankee Stadium, Nathan Norris said, your children are never going to graduate high school. Yeah. Yeah, Nathan. Yep. Yeah. So, and here we are. So, yeah. So Pamela's convert says, I'm 70 now and just figured out I'm going to die. Crazy. We're all going to die.
Where in New York are you from?
Yep. Oh, Poppy's New Yorker.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So let us know, Poppy, where are you from in let's see if I can get this. There we go. Whoops. I wanted to come up. There we go.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to graduate high school. Then after that, I was married 15 years, and I was divorced 8 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And here we are, right? So Poppy says
Dutchess, okay.
Dutchess County. Yeah. Jay says, here's another New Yorker. Jay's from upstate New York. Cult capital of the world, yeah. Absolutely. John. Hey, John. Welcome, John. Faithful, loyal John. 75er in Pennsylvania. A lot going on in Pennsylvania, John. How's it going up there? Got that plane that came down and all that craziness the other day. So, yeah, crazy stuff.
But you know what's interesting? Even when I was in, You know, what I would always think about is they would talk about all the things that were going on, at least me being in the US, is when news would happen, a lot of stuff in the US, they'd say, "Oh, the end is near, the end is near." And I would think, and especially now lately, and I can say this openly, regardless of what you think politically, is the US is now experiencing a lot of things that other countries have experienced for a long time, as far as just uncertainty. And it's not
Right.
about it's not about how things, you know, if it's right, if it's wrong, if you agree or disagree. I'm just talking about uncertainty. And you know what they'll do in with the governing body is use that as, oh, it's going to end, it's going to end. Well, you know what? You know, I have a lot of friends from a lot of other places that have dealt with a lot more uncertainty than what I experience here. Am I comfortable with it? No. But even when I was fully in, I would think about certain things they would talk about, or, you know, even in car groups, oh, you know, the end is coming because this happened, that happened. I'm like, well, that's just in our little corner. Like, you have to, why don't you talk to other people that lived in other places that have had it a lot worse?
Absolutely.
So just to me, even then, it felt like they're kind of exploiting local or national events to try to push the narrative that they wanted to.
Right. And that's absolutely right, because everybody is gauging things on what's happening in the US. And like you just said, you know, some of the people here in the chat that are watching here might not know, okay, but if you don't, I'm in Honduras, Central America. And so when you're on the outside looking in, and you go, okay, so you're feeling insecure, you're feeling unsafe from one day to the next, you don't know what's going to happen. Food prices are going up, gas prices are going up. Hey, welcome to the party, guys. Right? Like, welcome to the club. Right? That's literally everywhere else. Okay, because the US has been in this little bubble for so long, all of a sudden you start getting your comfort zone is getting encroached upon by uncertainty. The fact that, okay, we don't know what's going to happen from one day to the next. Kind of like, you know, people in Gaza, kind of like people in Syria, in all these places where there's conflict going on, where you don't know from one day to the next what's going to just pop up, what's going to happen. Are we going to be able to do this or do that or eat, or, you know, and people just live with that. It's just the way it is. It's just the way of life. You don't know if, like here, well, the power could go out right now. I don't know what's going to happen. We could have, you know, and it becomes a part of life. It literally becomes a lifestyle. People become very resilient because you just don't know from one day to the next what can happen. That becomes normal. And so all of a sudden it's happening in the US. Oh, the end's coming. This is happening. Well, maybe you're just, like you just said, I think that's the perfect way to look at it. Maybe you're just experiencing, maybe for a lot of people for the first time, what about 90% of the rest of the world lives with every day. That's their reality. Just in itself, just the uncertainty, just the insecurity of not knowing what things might be going on. So, you know, that's also, okay. You know, that's also something that's just, it's global now. It's global. So, you know, I think one thing we were talking the other day, as far as, I think a lot of things going on though in the US are particular to there because of the whole economic system in the US, and they're really fucking you guys. You know, when it comes to like what happened with, I've seen this on social media all over the place. I've seen memes about it, about like egg prices because of the supposed bird flu, and then all of a sudden, you know, you have to take out a loan to buy a carton of eggs or 12 eggs, you know. And we were talking about kind of jokingly, like, hey, I'm gonna start trafficking eggs from down here. Forget cocaine, you know, and all of that. I'll start trafficking eggs because literally I uploaded a picture because I just went to the supermarket the other day. You can get 30 eggs here for about $3. $3, just under $4, about $3.90. $3.90 for 30 eggs. That's what it costs here right now. So it seems like to me, we've never had any, the bird flu, this, that, and all of a sudden, they got to jack up, $10 for, a carton of eggs. It's just ridiculous. And it seems like, okay, what's going on there? It seems like to me, there's a lot of control going on, scare tactics, with the pharmacy prices, all this stuff. And it seems like it's particular to the U.S., but it's really like with this whole bird flu thing. Oh, the bird flu, that cause, they detected it like in one hen and then they killed all the rest. So was it really bird flu, or was it because they killed all the other chickens? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to think anymore. It's crazy, Well, yeah, look at this. It's $13 for a dozen eggs. Yeah, come on down to Honduras. I'll get them $3 for 30 eggs. So how is it possible that it's like we have better conditions here in Honduras? So it's like, hey, America, welcome to the third world country club, right? You guys are worse off than we are, So scary. Yeah, this is it. Like Culty says, there's no shortage of chickens, but eggs. But eggs, yes. It's like what's going on? Because you can go to the supermarket and get chicken, So why can't you get eggs? But I don't know. So yeah, Troy says we're waiting for them to start celebrating birthdays and Christmas. Yeah, I think eventually that's gonna give way too. A lot of that stuff's gonna give way. It'll
what I think. What I've been thinking about is like how they're going to roll back the blood doctrine. And what I think the easiest thing they can do is, first of all, to get rid of like the hospital liaison committee. So just get like HLC, just cut it out.
Right.
And then make it into like a don't ask, don't tell policy. Like, just if you're going to the hospital, like what you got to do, don't tell us too much. That'd be the smartest thing they do.
Yeah. That's absolutely. I think they'll just kind of, like you said, they'll just kind of go silent with it. They'll get rid of the hospital liaison committee. They'll phase it out of the Shepherd the Flock of God manual. It just won't be there.
Mm-hmm.
They won't say anything about it, and they'll probably here and there. They'll work it into some talks. I don't think they're going to send a letter. They're not going to make any because that's like jarring, right? When the congregation gets a letter and they change something, it's like, boom. Oh, whoa. Did you hear that letter? No, it'll be in a Watchtower study or, like a Sunday Watchtower study, or they'll just kind of slowly but surely, they'll make little comments about it. And, how, look at, there's some like things in the Bible where, like with the slave, when they talked about unrighteous riches and all of that, the slave that had the debt and he went out there and he paid off this guy and he paid off that guy and he got under the table, right? But it's like it wasn't really right, but at the same time it was smart, and he actually earned the favor of his slave owner, whatever, later on, because he was smart about it and he did these little things under. So just we can do the same thing. Just go out there and kind of do what you got to do, but don't make a big deal out of it. Don't say anything about it, right?
Yeah, they have to make that go away. They have to find a way to make it disappear.
Right. It's got to happen, but they can't, like you said, yeah, definitely they can't come out just boom out in the open and make an announcement about it or something like, oh, we have this one and here's a letter. And no, they can't do that because that's going to stir people up. But yeah, that's going to be one that they're going to have to think about how they're going to come out with that. So if I want to keep members, they will change. I'm waiting for them to change name. Maybe that could happen. Who knows? It could be a rebranding.
But you know what? Like Christmas isn't going to happen, but birthdays, if they do it right, they can get people to buy into it. Like if it's like you don't make it a big deal, if the party's not too big,
Right.
You know, if you're going to have a cake, just don't put candles on it. But what I've been thinking too is like the problem they have now is whatever they do to try to keep people in is also going to like wake people up. Well, anything they do, like
Right.
it's like, okay, it's going to be easier to keep going to the kingdom. It's going to be easier to be a witness. That's going to make people wake up. You can't have one without the other.
Right. Right. Now, there's always going to be a side effect of that. Always. Yeah. Here's an interesting thing that Jane Spitfire is bringing up. Anyone notice active JWs have some YouTubes? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And you know what? That's an interesting thing because that's been going on since the 90s, where ever since the internet came into existence, and people started having like websites, and there were brothers that came up kind of with their own Watchtower library type thing. They had a website, like websites like that. And I don't know if you remember, Jeff, but back in the day, there were talks about that, like about how we're not supposed to have, you shouldn't be having like your own website or sites with like study material. That's what the JW online, the disc that you would buy, or you would not buy, but you would get from the literature department with the library on it. That's what that's for. Any official study material or information is supposed to be through the Watchtower library. But you always had brothers that went off on their own little tangent and made these websites with study materials online, and they weren't supposed to do that. And it's still happening with YouTube.
But like me thinking as if I were still JW and also as an ex, if you like, this is just me, maybe because I'm older. Like if you're an active JW, you're like an idiot for doing that. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
What like what good is gonna come of that? If it's like I mean, I don't know why, but why couldn't the governing body just have their own JW channel where they put blurbs on there and disable the comments?
Right.
Like, you don't say too much. You just put something on there so you have a presence and limit your interaction.
Right. I wonder if it has something to do with like, and the same phenomenon of these people coming on our channels and making comments or spewing scriptures out there, like, like Mr. DC and all these other people that always come on. It's the same comment every single time. It's like, wait a dude. It's like, no, you can't. I mean, it seems like they're doing it like with the other channels too. Like, that's the way they're participating in the ministry, since they don't count time anymore. Like, oh, well, I had my channel and I had so many views, so hey, somebody listened to my message, right? So I participated. It's like, no, that doesn't work that way. You can't go on, especially apostate YouTube channels, and interact with them and then say you participated in the ministry. What's going on in their head? It's like, well, actually, interestingly, the other day, speaking of that, and man, I wish I didn't, because the guy, like, I think he erased it later on. I wish I would have taken a screenshot. Man, I should have taken a screenshot. But this guy came on. I can't remember what video it was on, but he started going off on this big rant. And the first comment that he made, it was kind of like, oh, well, I've never been a witness, but and I was like, man, I was like, listen, I said, you're not a witness, are you? I was like, so if you're not a witness, if you were never a witness, why would you care? Like, why would you even care if what I'm doing? Because he was like, oh, why don't you do something else? And you said what you had to say and all of this. And I'm like, why would you even care if you're not a witness? Then he kind of like I got him. Like, he was like, no, actually, I'm a witness and I'm a pioneer and this and that is for so many years. And so I was like, dude, I said, and I wasn't like mad or because we kept talking like several, he would reply back. And then I said, I'm genuine, because it seemed like he wanted to talk. Seemed like the guy was kind of like, he had an internal conflict or something. So I was like generally interested and sincere. And I said, could you just help me to like, I said, I'm totally sincere about this. Could you help me to understand why, if you are an active witness, as you say, you're a pioneer, you know, you're defending the organization and all that, what are you doing on this page? Why are you talking to me? Unless A, you have some curiosity, or because you know, like when I was a witness, there is absolutely no way you would interact with apostates.
Yeah.
I was afraid of them. I was afraid, like literally, like when I would see apostates protesting at a convention, I was literally afraid.
Yeah.
It's like, you guys don't seem to feel that anymore. Like, you just come on here, you know you're not supposed to do it. So could you explain to me just why you're here? Like, is it really like deep down inside you're confused, or you have some doubts, or what? Because you started off as kind of like you weren't a witness, and now it's like, oh, you came out, and then after that the comment disappeared. So it seems like the guy kind of like I hit a nerve there, you know, but it's like, I don't understand that mentality. I really don't.
You know what's interesting though, just talking about afraid of apostates, like, you know, when I would see them at the conventions too, I'd be afraid, or, you know, if I knew somebody was one. But what was interesting to me when I was in, and especially as I grew older, like teenage and older, is when I found out somebody like disassociated, when you knew that's what they did and when they announced it.
Yeah.
Is there would always be this thing in the back of my head, like, what did they know that I don't know?
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't look for answers, but I'm like, you know, we have this hope, you know, the paradise, and we have this information, and we have all this stuff to hold on to. So what is it that you know, or what did you find out that made you give it up? Because some of these people were like really intelligent people. Well, I ended up finding out. I got my answer.
It has to. Yeah, me too. It has to make you think, because when you find out somebody disassociated, and it's like, what? You mean they weren't disfellowshipped? They just left?
Yeah.
It's like, why? Like, wow. I mean, you have to think, like, why did they make that decision? Like, what did they, like you said, what did they know? What did they find out? Right. So that's a big thing. That's powerful.
For me, the first time I had that experience where I remember, I was like maybe like 13 years old or whatever. There was this sister that came from like communist Russia, and I think it had fallen, like communism had fallen shortly before. But anyways, she came from that environment and was like an underground witness. Moves to the U.S., ends up going on a Bible study with somebody who spoke Russian. And like a month or two later, she just signed her letter and left. So to me, like in my mind, I'm like, wow, you went through like persecution and you were underground, and like you come to the U.S. And part of me, like what they feed you is like, oh, you know, you have all this freedom and you just like go crazy. But then to me, it's like, you found something out on the outside that you didn't know on the inside. Like, what was it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. This is hilarious. What Jay said, someone showed up to a convention in a devil outfit.
So when I moved to Colorado, they dressed as clowns.
Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine. That's hilarious. Man, what I would pay to have a video of that. Man.
They dressed as clowns. When I first moved to Colorado, that's what they said they did. I'm like, hold on, wait a second. That's what they did?
Oh, yeah. That's crazy. Oh my goodness. That's fair. Thanks, Jay. That made my day. Yeah, so Titus says, I shook for weeks when I broke the ice and watched XJW YouTube in 2020. It took months to shake things up. Yeah, it's real. That's real. That fear is real, right? And it's amazing the power it has over a person, you know. But thankfully, as you see more and more and you look into this stuff, once your eyes are open, you know, that's a natural response from the conditioning that we receive. But once you know the truth, you know the truth. There's just no, you know, and then that feeling gets replaced by determination. You know that what you know now is right. And these are lies that they're teaching. This is not what it appears to be. And it gets better. It really does. So like Andrea said, the overlapping generation. Overlapping generation did it for me. Yeah, that a lot of people too. They caught on to that. So that was one of the first channels that I watched. Was JT and Lady C, and that was one that they also that really hung up on them as well, was the overlapping generation. And so yeah, that definitely that didn't go unnoticed by a lot of people, yeah, and that's exactly. And I made a video about this not too long ago about that's why I think it was the 2024 annual meeting where they kind of phased out this idea of like, oh, like, the churches are empty. Remember that? I made a video about this a couple months ago about how, look, the Christendom's losing its grip. The churches are empty. No, they're not. They're not at all. Maybe in a few European countries, but that's not even true in the US. Churches are full. It's doing just fine. Okay. And they even recognize that, which I thought was crazy, that they actually had to come out and say, well, it's actually in a lot of places growing. And it's like, yeah, I could have told you that years ago where I'm living. So yeah. So my DF sister says culty DF 15 years, still won't even look at anything negative. No, well, she's a Pomey. Yeah, she's still in the Pomey mindset. So she's physically out, mentally in. Okay, like my dad. And yeah, they're letting themselves be dominated, oppressed by that. Like they still think, oh, it's me, I was wrong, right? That's like my dad, right? Same thing, right? They're right, I was wrong. And it's like, well, try looking into some stuff, look into it now. What do you have to lose anyway? You're out. What I don't understand though, like I'm sure with Culty, with your sister, same with my dad, like I always said, why don't they go back? I don't get it. Yeah. It's like my dad, if I talk to him, he's not going back. And like I said in that one video, if you guys didn't catch on it, the video I made about Jim, quote unquote, that's my dad. His name's not Jim, but I didn't want to mention his name specifically, but that was basically about him. And he's even come to the point now where he started going on jw.org, which he didn't before. And he stumbled across broadcasting. And when he started watching the broadcasting, that's what opened his eyes to a lot of things. And now he's like, this is not the truth. God's not behind them, which was huge for my dad. That was to recognize that was a big thing. But still, it's like, he still like thinks they're right. And so I just can't understand. It's like, well, then why, the logical thing would be to go back then, right? So they say that, but at the same time, they won't go back. So it's kind of like, what's the deal? I don't know. Yeah, what Rocket Jogger, welcome here with us. Appreciate it. What Culty, Caleb, and Sophia videos are coming soon? Yeah, I don't know. That's just, I can't even watch that stuff. It turns my stomach. It really does. It's hard enough for me just to watch these governing body videos, just enough to get a topic for a video. It's just, I can barely do it. But Caleb and Sophia just infuriates me. Really. Those videos are infuriating. So, because just the it's so obvious the way they're trying to manipulate children. So I really don't like those. I hate watching them. But yeah, I'm sure they're gonna have more. I'll keep my eye on them. Yeah. So she says, oh, here it was, Culty. Sorry, I'll get back to that in a second, Jane. She still wants the Jehovah to bring Armageddon. I'm like, well, you better go back because you're his to be destroyed list, right? You're on the hit list. Better go back. At least they know now they can do it last minute, right? Last minute repentance. They've got that option now. Yeah. Culty. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely, Jeff. Yeah, in Japan, it's yeah. I respect the Japanese in that sense that they don't discuss like religion with other people, and they're very respectful. That's like a big cultural thing. Like you just don't talk about, Yeah. Yeah. Well, if you do you know, Jeff, in the future, like what part of Japan? Are you gonna go to not Hong Kong, Tokyo,
Yeah, I'll be in
or where are you
Tokyo,
gonna
and
go?
then I'm probably going to spend a couple days like in Osaka and Kyoto, and I may find another place to go. The first thing I want
Nice.
to do is go to a 7-Eleven because that's big over there.
Yeah. Like go back in time. 7-Eleven. Yeah.
No, they love
I'll have to let
it's big there. Yeah.
yeah. I'll have to let my cousin know. I have a cousin who lives and works in Tokyo, and he's been there the same amount of time that I've been here in Honduras.
Okay.
And I'll let him know. Maybe you can look him up. So Daisy Dew says, here's an interesting one. COVID did it for me. Never wanted to go back in person and just lost interest, but did not discover the stuff like hidden CSA and government grants. Yeah. Yeah. There was a lot of, I think COVID kind of just, some people just kind of faded away because of the whole convenience of all of it. But yeah, once you're in that position, Daisy, I would hope that like what happened with you, instead of people becoming POMI and still defending the organization, even though they won't go back, that they would actually discover some of these things that we're talking about for themselves and open their eyes, right? And realize like, wow, yeah, that's bad, right? A lot of the stuff that they're covering up and what's happening, just hypocrisy, straight up hypocrisy, right? So yeah, well, Jane, that's true. But I think the door to door work is kind of just it's dwindling. It's going to become less and less because it's like, what's really the point now, right? There's no urgency to that anymore, and now without our requirements, it's kind of like just kind of you can talk to anybody anywhere and just say, hey, I participated. Why go through all that formality of having to go out and go door to door? And I wouldn't do it.
Well, it's not even safe. Not, I mean, it was, I guess times were different 40, 50 years ago, but you
Yeah.
can't just show up to somebody's door now.
Yeah. It's crazy that like Jane's saying here that there are people that still think like the CSA, like that's lies. Oh, those are just lies. That's apostate. That's Satan. Wow. It's like, but they wouldn't say that about the Catholic Church though, or about anybody else. That's not a lie. That's not apostate. And it's like, why would you think it's not with the witnesses? Okay. The CSA has absolutely nothing to do with religion. Okay. It's a human problem. CSA exists in every single stage, in every single level of society. Okay. Anywhere that people can have contact with children, you're going to have CSAers, right? You're going to have those people. Okay. The pedos, whatever, chomos, right? They exist everywhere. They're in schools, they're in churches, they're in, orphanages. So it's not just a religion thing. It's just anywhere those people can have contact with children, they're going to be there. Okay, because that problem is a human thing. So yeah, it's crazy that someone would think like, oh, that when it comes to witnesses, that's a lie. That's insane, and that's why it's able to keep thriving. Yeah, it's not safe anymore. Yep. Right, exactly, Titus. Bingo. There you go.
Yeah.
It's not the fact that it exists. What are they doing about it? That's the whole thing. Right? Nobody's blaming anybody because those things are going to exist. They've always existed since forever. But what are you doing about it? That's the whole thing. Right? Yep. There's, perverts all over the place. That's nothing new. That's always existed, always will. And they're always going to, look for places and opportunities and jobs and social groups that will give them access to children. And that's always going to happen. So the whole thing is knowing that, like, what are you going to do when you discover this? So the witnesses still haven't 100%. They still haven't gotten it yet. They're still, practicing the same things they have before, even though they're modifying, they're changing their, their manual and things like that. But in the practice, it's still happening. So it's crazy.
And what gets me to
that's
it's like right that they're kind of sort of doing something about it, but look at the motivation behind why. Like, why do you need to address something like that? Why do you need like financial motivation? Especially if you're a religion. Especially if you're a religion.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Thrash, I think, and I don't know, in the practice, because I'm not in the congregations anymore, so I don't know. But there's always typically been a big chasm between, for example, what's in their manuals and things like that, because they can just pull that out later on and go, oh, see, this is what we have in our manual. But in practice, is it really happening though? When you're actually in the congregations, because typically the culture remains the same. They keep doing it. The changes they're making in their manual, that's just for legal purposes. And then they can pull that out. They'll throw the elders under the bus and say, well, the elders weren't doing what they were supposed to. See, this is in our manual, but it's not encouraged. It's still not encouraged. They won't do it. But like Jay said, yeah, I mean, I think sooner or later, they're just gonna have to realize you just got to call the police. Just be done with it, right? I mean, if they would have been doing that since the beginning, none of this would have happened, So I saw another, where was this comment here? Oh, here it was. Rocket Jogger said, JW preach only the righteous will own the earth. I wonder how righteous are JW. So they're apostates and don't earn nothing. Yeah. So yeah, well, it's that's all relative, right? It's like, who's righteous, right? Who's really, if it comes down to that, there's people that are way more righteous that are not witnesses. I mean, really, people who are very devout, very dedicated to their belief systems. What does it say here? There's a campaign letter done by ex-JW Jimmy Bell that came out today, calling on the governments to investigate. Jimmy has the document on his newest video if anyone wants to go signature it. Okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. Good to shine light on that. Go check it out, everybody, if you want to. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think very slowly but surely, the authorities are kind of waking up. They're starting to put the spotlight a little bit more on all of these groups, including the Jehovah's Witnesses. So it's got to happen sooner or later. We're going in that direction, and it's going in the right direction. Slowly but surely, much more than ever before, thanks to internet and social media, and people have a voice now, and they can speak up a lot more.
I think what it is now is the governments are understanding that, like, you can go through and read documents or read like manuals and stuff, but I think the governments are understanding you have to understand the culture behind the religion. Like, when you start understanding how that works, and it's like you start knowing what to look for.
Absolutely. Yep. Self-righteousness. Absolutely. Yep. And just like we saw, if any of you had the opportunity, the video that I just made about how your best is not good enough. That's what the title of the video was. The one that Sam Hurd gave, the talk that he gave on jw.org, right? It's like, is your best the good enough? Is it good enough, really? Right? And it's like, man, it's an old fashioned. If you want to kind of feel like how we did when we were witnesses, go watch that video. That video that Sam Hurd did on that, it's a classic beatdown from an elder, where it's like, oh, really? Are you doing what you can? Is it you're doing your best? But no, it's not. And then he reads that scripture that says that, and he's like, well, that's not what it's saying. No, it's yes, you need to compare yourself with other people. It's not enough. Do more. And it's just like, man, the big guilt trip, right? Classic guilt trip from an elder. That's what we experienced back in the day. And that comes from a governing body member. So you can just imagine what happens in the congregations, on that level. So you can go on to I put the link in that video. I pinned it, so you can go and watch the video directly. But yeah, it's just one of those videos where it's like, man, just you can never do enough. But then of course it brings up the question again, though. with these works-based religions, it's like, well, how much is enough then? Like, how do you ever know if you've earned salvation, if if you're good enough, if you did enough, because that just really doesn't go along with what the Bible says. It's not something that you can earn based on any merit or anything like that. So you're lost right from if you're doing that, you're lost. If you're trying to earn things, then you might as well just, if you're going to follow certain precepts of the Mosaic law, then you have to do all of it. It's either all or nothing. You can't just choose what parts you're going to observe and others no. So because you say, well, then you have to sacrifice animals. Oh, well, we wouldn't do that. That's not that's not practical. And oh, well, okay, but that's what the law says. You have to do that, right? That's not a choice. So we lost Jeff. Oh, Jeff disconnected. So yeah, it's everything. It's controlling your life. Controlling what you're doing. So thank you very much, Rocket. I appreciate that. Okay, appreciate that. And it's just we're just doing what we're doing and just trying to keep it real. It's unpolished, it's unedited, but I'm just just a normal guy, and I'm speaking my mind and hoping that it. Let's see what's going on. Jeff sending me a message here. Crappy signal dropped. Okay, yeah. So hopefully he'll be back. Let me just see if I can hold on, guys. See if I can answer him with a oh shit. Oh, am I still here? Oh, I'm still here. Okay. Yeah. So Jeff said his signal dropped. I had to answer him back. Yeah. So I really appreciate that, and everybody just want to let you know, everybody that's here, how much I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the support, just in the way of the fact that everybody is so consistent, watching videos and supporting in that case, and with being subscribed and liking, which, as I've said before, I don't monetize or anything like that, but I'm interested in the views, and particularly views and likes and things like that, just because of the more that a video gets like that, the more YouTube, with the whole algorithm, the mysterious algorithm, it gets the videos out there, because that's what I want. I just want to get the most exposure so that other people can see the videos, whether it's mine or whoever else's. It doesn't matter. I don't care if somebody watches me or watches everybody else. Thank you, Culty. Thank you, Jane. I appreciate that. Thank you too. And that's the whole purpose of this, is just to create awareness and consciousness about these issues. I don't, I'm a big First Amendment, believer, and I think everybody has the right to worship as they will. If someone wants to be a witness, that's within their right. But it's also our right to expose the reality of these things, the reality of, for example, with the JW organization. And you have the right to know if you're being fed misinformation, if you're being lied to, if you're being deceived by what an organization is doing. Now, what you do with that, what each person does with that, ultimately is up to them. But we have a responsibility, being that we were a part of that organization. We also diffused that, we copy and pasted Watchtower lies to other people for many, many, many years. So I feel personally that obligation. I feel tasked to share this now with the knowledge that I have now, to help people to make better decisions. And of course, that's going to depend on each person. Some people will, some people won't. It is what it is, right? But we're going to keep doing it. So Jane says, Colin, check out song Find Your People by Drew Holcomb. Good song for XJW. I will. Thank you. Yeah, I will, definitely. So Culty says, yes, I'm for freedom of religion, but your religion should do no harm. Exactly. Right. And you have at the very least, you have the right to know also if what you're believing is untrue. You also have that right. Okay. You can ignore it if you want to, but I don't know why anybody would. Why would you keep following something if you know that it's not true? Doesn't make any sense. I mean, knowledge is empowering. Knowledge is power, like the saying says. So when you learn something and you have to change your mind about things because you have the knowledge now, you have the proof. How can you continue on and just say, well, I'm going to believe it anyway? That's just stupidity. That's stupidity. It's just being hard-headed. No, when you get knowledge and you learn something's not true, you have to change. You have to transform. And that's what my last video was about. And that didn't get very many views, but that's okay. It wasn't directed necessarily at Jehovah's Witnesses. That reflection I was giving there about transforming, that's just in general. That's for everybody. We should always be changing. We should always be learning every day and challenging our beliefs. Challenge your beliefs. Challenge what the status quo is at this moment, and always read, always research, always look into things to know if what you're really believing and seeing is really the truth. And the same, guys, please, with the whole situation with politics going on right now, always challenge it. Always challenge it, especially with politicians, guys. Come on, don't fool yourselves. It's not a question of Republicans, Democrats. Don't get into that bickering match. Don't get caught up in that. Okay, it's the same everywhere. Like I live in here in Honduras, it's the same thing. Don't fall into the trap of taking sides politically, because in the end, all those people are the same. They're all in bed together. They're after their own interests. Okay, and it depends on who's in power at the time. Okay, so I just tell people, let's not let ourselves, don't let yourself be divided because of those things, because that's what they want. They want us divided over politics, over religion, over skin color, over all those things, right? Okay, John, thank you for being here. I'm gonna be wrapping this up very quick because I've got my two stepdaughters. I have to go pick them up from work pretty soon. It's just after 5 o'clock Central Time here in Honduras. We don't have time zones here. Honduras doesn't have time zones or daylight savings or any of that. But I just say that so that people in the US can understand what my time is. It shifts according to your shift with turning back the clock or this and that. So thank everybody for being here. What a good turnout. I really appreciate that. I'm gonna have more videos coming up, guys. I'm really kicking back and forth whether I should share something, but there was I have an update that I want to give about my daughter Cosette, because a lot of you have been following as well and have been invested emotionally in Cosette's situation and what's been going on with her. And I was just in fact talking to her last night, and she opened up about some things that happened very recently, some really serious things, really heart-wrenching things that happened, something that happened in December that she didn't tell me about at the time. That was right after, if you guys remember the video, she was here for a couple of weeks and we made a video together and all that. And then after that, she went back home with her mother. And then something happened that was really bad. And I'm just still kind of trying to kick back and forth whether I should share it or not. But I kind of feel like I should, because all of you guys have been kind of keeping up on what's been going on with Cosette. And I feel like I should keep you up to date with, since she recently disassociated from the organization. And she had a really tough situation happen very recently. So, but I'm going to make a video about that. So that's going to be coming up. So just stand by with that. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for being here and watching the live. Okay. Thanks for supporting my channel, the CO Visit. I really do appreciate it. Yeah, I'll let you know, Jay. Yeah, I'll be keeping you guys in the loop with all of that. I don't know right now what's going to happen or if she's going to make her own channel or not, but I'll update you guys on what's going on with her very soon. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you in the next CO Visit. Thank you.